was just inviting you to sit tight for the prelude and enjoy our Irish tunes.
Welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Pittsburgh. Today is March 15th, 2026. I am Stephanie Pulowski, commissioned lay minister with this church. For those with visual disabilities, I am in my late 40s with curly, brownish, graying hair, and I'm wearing a dress covered in cats. Our minister, Reverend Kate Walker, is on sabbatical through the end of May. Today we have guest Herb Weaver. Herb has been an artist and educator for nearly 4 decades, teaching at the middle, high school, and college level. Herb was a professor of mine at Bethany College in the late 90s. He's remained art active and is exhibited in over 200 shows throughout the United States and abroad. Focusing on the medium of ceramic sculpture, he strives to take art off the pedestal and into the daily lives of those who view his work. In retirement, Herb is focused on several artist-in-residence opportunities and world travel. He and his wife, Anita, who's also here, raised their 3 daughters in Bethany, West Virginia, where I taught them all in Sunday school, and moved to the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia in 2015. You are welcome here. If you are watching now or in the future, you are welcome. If you're a longtime member or brand new, you are welcome here. We Unitarian Universalists are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We're a multi-faith religious community where all are welcome, diversity is celebrated, and questions are expected. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. Just as you are welcome. If this is your first time with us, we would love to be in touch with you. If you're here in person and have not already done so, please go to our welcome desk in the atrium, or if you're watching us on YouTube, visit our website, just Google First Unitarian of Pittsburgh and sign up for our weekly newsletter. We have 2 announcements today. First, join us for a scrumptious spring equinox brunch after the service on March 22nd. This is a free gathering organized by our social events team. So that we can prepare the right amount of food, we hope you'll RSVP in the Undercroft during coffee hour today. And second, the acoustic gathering is playing for us today. If you are watching them and thinking that would be fun to do, they are open to musicians of all ages and abilities, and all are welcome to join in this fun and informal music making. If today's music excites you, please see Ellen after the service to find out more. I invite you now to take a deep breath. Arrive in body and spirit, and picture yourself connected to all others who are watching today and in the future. We turn now to our chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. If you have a chalice at home, we invite you to light it at this time. We light this chalice with the words of Tracy Johnson. We light this chalice this morning, light of our creative spirits, light of our wise souls, light of our wondering and curious minds, light of love for this place, this people, this work. Illuminate our hearts and the spaces between them in this sacred time of unfolding. Blessed be. May this flame burn bright in your heart and minds as we worship together. Please join me and rise in body or spirit as we sing our opening hymn, Joy in the Morning.
And please, thank you. So I just have a word to say about the words that are in your order of service. I just looked at them and I think they're a little unclear. So there's the first verse, and then those lines that should have spaces between them below, those are verses 2, 3, and 4. So you will we find hope in our children exactly the way that you treated the 4 lines of joy in the morning above. And then we'll move on to strength and do that 4 times, and then we'll move on to love. So I apologize, those are a little unclear. Joy in the morning. Please join me in our shared reading, The Collective Grounding, which is printed in your order of service. We name our collective recommitment to care for the earth, knowing the ground we live upon is sacred. We pledge to bring new life to the earth, new life to the air, new life to the waters, new life to each other,
for all life is sacred.
Our stage is wonderfully crowded this morning. I love it. I'm Erica Shadowsong, our Lifespan Religious Education Director. I am wearing a gray sweater and some black pants and a headband. And I have a beautiful chalice that was made. So if you would like to see this better, I invite you to come up to the front. I'm going to come around here. And you can sit in this pew or on the floor, wherever it is you want to sit, that you can see this better. All the young and young at heart are invited. Okay, so I'm going to just hold this up and you'll get a chance to touch it as well. Anyone else? Okay, good. So, look at this cool thing. What does it look like to you all? Purple, right? And did you say a bowl? Yeah, it looks like a bowl, right? This is actually a chalice. Chalice means cup, by the way, but it's like this. We use it to put the candle in, and I'm going to pass it around now. You guys can hold it and look at it. And that chalice, yeah, and make sure that you pass it around so everybody can touch it. That chalice was made by somebody here. I don't know if that person is still here or if they've moved on. I imagine they've probably moved on, but maybe they were here when they were as young as you. And maybe they made that chalice while they were young, or they made it when they were a teenager. And you notice how there's little decorations on it? What kind of shapes did you see on that? A circle? Yeah. Did you guys see a spiral? Kind of goes like that, yeah? So yeah, the person who made that, it was just a lump of clay before. You guys play with clay, right? Have you ever played with clay, Play-Doh? Okay, well, that was just a lump of clay. And they shaped it, and they put those designs on it, and they painted it, and they cooked it, and now it's a chalice. And that person has gone on to grow in their life. Now, if that person were to make that chalice right now, if they were going to make a chalice, do you think it might look different than that one? Probably. Why? Maybe even a little. Why? Why would it be different? Because it'll have a triangle instead of a circle? Yeah. They'd be older, so they'd probably be able to do more designs. Very good. So we're kind of like that. We change as we grow. And when we make art like that, were you guys here last week last time when they did the tarot cards with the pictures? Some of you did. Okay. So like that, we make art. Artists make art to capture moments in our lives. But those moments change. We change as we grow. That chalice remains a chalice. It stays the same. But we grow. And the people who use it, the people whose hands are holding it, change. So we are a little bit like that. Are you guys all artists? Yeah. Right? Great. So when you make your art, think about what you're putting into it. What is going on that is special in your life right now that you're capturing in your piece of art? And maybe one day you'll make a chalice that we will keep here in the church and use again and again and again long after you have grown. All right. And with that, we're going to rise and sing, and our children, not rising, children and youth will go to our classes.
Number 413, go now in peace.
Go now in peace, go now in peace.
Every month, we share our generosity with a designated organization. This month, it is our partnership with the Kazi Hills School in Kazi Hills, India. All donations are shared 50-50 with this organization unless otherwise designated. Our religious community is made up of volunteers and staff creating and hosting a variety of programming. We rely on your financial support. In addition to the collection plate, you can donate by texting GIVE to 412-435-1050 and following the directions. Please check the end of your order of service for more ways to give. The offering will now be gratefully received to support the work, the wonder, and the witness of our religious community. We hold each other in our hearts and minds with all our joys and all our sorrows. We have a few sorrows to share this morning. First, Bob Andrews, brother of Greg Andrews, passed on March 7th. Second, Jane Danner Critchfield, sister of Margot Critchfield, passed also on March 7th. Lucinda Beatty, a member of our board of directors, broke her ankle last Sunday at home after church, not while she was volunteering. She will have surgery this coming Tuesday and will be in healing for the next 6 to 8 weeks. Our thoughts and concerns go out to her and to all the families of those who have lost loved ones. You are invited into a few moments of silence, personal meditation, and prayer. In the words of Elaine Kizia, may my wisest self guide me through this day. May I be reminded to look through eyes of wonder and see the abundant beauty of here and now. To live from my toes up, grounded on this precious earth and in this miraculous body. To open my heart, flinging wide its shutters so no defenses cut me off. To employ my hands to create beauty, to soothe suffering, and to unlock potential. Eyes, feet, heart, hands, from here I can wake to my life and the gift that it is. From here I can move through my day with simple ease. From here I can spread compassion and love. From here I can mend the world. May I be in harmony today with the current that flows through all. Here I am. Amen. Blessed be.
One, two, ready, and... Morning dew lingers here, the mountains cool, the summer air. She feels at home when he is near. She will walk by his side. They'll gather berries ripe and wild, and then some sweet and fragile thoughts confide. May not need a word like God to be true. There is love enough between me and you, and the wonders, all the wonders of this world will do.
A reading this morning is a thought from psychologist Samantha Stein. Being a part of a healthy community can also provide us with support. When we're going through a difficult time, it can be enormously helpful to have people who we can turn to. Community members can offer us emotional support, practical help, and advice. They can also help us to feel we aren't alone in our struggles. A community can also help us to develop a sense of identity. When we're part of a community, we learn about shared values and beliefs. We also learn about our history and culture. This can help us feel we have a place in the world and that we are part of something important. Now I'd like to invite Herb Weaver to come share with us.
Good morning. I think Erica said pretty much everything that I have to say this morning. So, and Ellen mentioned that when I said, "Oh, I know Brad Yoder," and Brad Yoder is your part of your music this morning. She said, "Oh, all Mennonites know each other," and it's true. There's only about 350,000 Mennonites in North America, and when I taught at the Mennonite high school, Brad was a student there. And Brad's dad is a staple in the Mennonite community in Harrisonburg, Virginia. In fact, his dad was my teacher, and then I taught with Harvey, his dad. So it's a small world in many ways. When I mention this community, this high school, this morning I was thinking about how I met my wife, Anita, there. And I remember somebody asked me once, in the Mennonite world, are there arranged marriages? And I laughed and scoffed and said, no, it's all about love. But then I got to thinking, her parents sent her to this Mennonite school to find a nice Mennonite boy. And maybe it was a little bit arranged. And it turns out that her parents and my mom were in the same class, the class of 49. So it's kind of a religiously incestuous group. But we're going to move on. I'm going to try to pick out some of the better moments and the things that I remember about the Mennonite world. And this word apostasy, which is the abandonment of belief, I didn't abandon everything. I kept the good things. And so I'm going to talk about this journey through Mennonite world to where I am now. And I'm going to use my artwork as an example of that. And that's what I do, ceramic sculpture. For 25 years, I've graded advanced placement portfolios of high school students, and over the years, we've changed it a bit from grading and scoring the end product to now giving more credit to the process, and we call that a sustained investigation, and that's what I'm in right now. I'm still in my sustained investigation. I'm going to submit my slides to you for review. So I put this up mostly, this horse and buggy, for dramatic effect. I did not grow up with the horse and buggy, but around them all the time. And in fact, mostly this is Amish that you would think of that have the horse and buggies. Let me see if I can get this to work. But really, the Amish broke away from the Mennonites about 200 years ago because the Mennonites were getting too worldly. And so there are some Mennonites where I live in Virginia that are old order Mennonites, and they would have horse and buggies. But we broke away with this guy named Menno Simons about 1525, 1535. But there was this undercurrent growing up about, we broke away from the Catholics, And there was this undercurrent that you really weren't supposed to, well, we were still holding it against them for persecuting us. And that's what this book, Martyr's Mirror, is all about. It was a big, thick book that illustrated all the terrible things Catholics did to the Mennonites in 1530. Well, you know, we had this feeling then that even though it wasn't ever said out loud, but you know, John F. Kennedy and RFK, I don't know. But I want you to know now it's okay to not like RFK Jr. I will promote that. So let me back up a little bit. So there was quite a bit of, well, Mennonites didn't really think that highly of art. It was very frivolous. And so I thought I would go with that. Now, I started off as a very prolific 2D artist, as you can see in children's highlights. But I moved on to embracing the frivolousness of art in the Mennonite world, to the point where I joined this art program at Eastern Mennonite College, and I had the first outdoor sculpture, and this would have been in the 70s. They had just started their art program. I doubt if I could have made it anywhere else, but they were probably desperate for art students along the way. But this indoctrination, as I look back on it, was, well, I just thought it was normal. But along the way, they taught us a lot of good things. And some of these issues were singing. Now, in the early days, we had no instruments, but we got worldly. And we were able to embrace four-part harmony, mostly, is what they taught us in the early days. But this understanding of peace and nonviolence was very pronounced all the way through, and something that I held on to dearly. But the last thing that there was a notion that you should be self-sufficient and apart from the world, and part of that was you should be able, well, like in "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" You ain't a man if you ain't got land, and we could build things. And so Anita and I, about 10 years ago, we built this house in Virginia. And some of that, from my Mennonite upbringing, I worked for a guy while I was in college, and I tell him often, that's really the best education that I received. Well, maybe not the best, but pretty good. So along the way, then I'm going to express this art journey, and this was one of the pieces I did where I came to realize that all these people talked about peace and nonviolence. And this is my campfire, my peace fire of ceramic guns being burned around rocks that have quotes from all different walks of people and religions. And so that brings me to a little bit, the last time I was in a Unitarian church was probably about 40 years ago, and they asked me to talk about this sect, the Mennonites. So I'm repeating this again, but in a different way. The Amish would meet in people's houses, which I always thought was very efficient, and this is the church that I grew up in, more or less, even though I lived in many places. This was my home church, and this is the church that we got married in. And part of it is this idea that I thought the Mennonites made up, but it was Gandhi: live simply so others can simply live. But the simple lifestyle was a big part of growing up. This artwork that I did then, this is my religious artwork. It's a little bit different than, say, Michelangelo's religious artwork. But this was one of my concerns, or not a concern, it was interesting in the sense that all the different ways that you could be baptized. And, can you be dunked, or infant baptism or sprinkled, and it doesn't really matter, you know. And I started to think in those terms. The piece on the right then is all about accountability and how when Peter denied knowing Christ, the rooster crowed. So I'm working out all these things in my mind as I'm making artwork. When I went to teach at a Catholic college, I was very taken with the nuns. About half the faculty were nuns, and they gave a lot of credit to Mary, the mother of Jesus, who the Mennonites really didn't talk about that much. And I thought, this is really important, because the Mennonites were also, they didn't view women as equals at first. They may now, but in the old days, you know, even women sat on one side of the church and men sat on the other. And then for most of my adult life, lived with 3 daughters and 1 wife, I became very aware of the discriminatory practices that women have faced over the years. And so Instrumental Mary was a series of artwork that I did where I was actually investigating all the wonderful things that Mary had to offer in the Bible, and also women in the world. And we're still way behind on this issue. So this is where Erica's chalice talk comes in handy. When I then went to Bethany College, where I met Stephanie, they were big on communion. I mean, I accidentally said I would be the chalice maker for them. And I bet over the years I made more than 1,000 chalices. And the disciples of Christ are kind of the Mecca of it's where the disciples were founded. And so they had communion every Sunday. And I'm like, the Mennonites had it maybe twice a year, and it wasn't such a big deal. But this issue of peace just kept coming back to me. And this is in regard to the war, the first war against Iraq. And I remember a professor at Bethany came up to me and he said, "I bet you're glad you're Mennonite. You should be proud." And I said, "Well, tell me why." And he said, "Well, you know, you've stood for peace for 500 years. And I said, "Yeah, but I just read in the Mennonite Weekly Review that in 2004, 2/3 of the Mennonites who voted for Bush. And he was this maker of the war." And so I made the bushwhacker. Also from that time, a friend and fellow colleague at Bethany and I started a class called The Art and Science of Peace, which turned out to be really one of the best things that I've ever done, actually, because for 9 years we had this class where we talked about, from his psychological point of view, power and control and greed. And then we made artwork that kind of helped us understand it a little bit better. One of the most powerful things we did was, in the first 1,000 Americans who were killed in that war, we wrote their names on these ribs and we hung them all around campus. Later that year, I went up to Siena Heights University to do a talk, and they had done an even better job. This was on their campus, those people who died in the war. And so this idea of peace just kept coming back over and over. And why I can't advance that, I don't know. Oh, I did advance it. I guess I'm a little bit behind on my computer up here. So we would do artwork, and for 9 years we did this. And this piece on the right is kind of interesting. It was a time capsule, and students wrote things about peace and that they wished for. And then we hung it out in front of the church. And in 3 days, a student took a baseball bat to it and crushed it, and all the notes went flying about campus. So it was kind of the way I was feeling about America at the time anyway, and I still am. In this class, I realized that I could not imagine how ignorant I was, which makes me think back to when I graduated from high school in 1975. I remember thinking, oh, I know it all. And then I went to college, and in the first semester, I realized I know nothing. And that's the way I felt. I'm still in my sustained investigation. I'm still learning. But this was the thing that so many wars were started from people just saying, my God is better than your God. And it was frightening, really. And it made me think back a little bit to the 70s, Seals and Crofts. Now, if you're my age, you know that they had some powerful songs. What I didn't know that it affected me so much was that they were advocates of the Baha'i faith, which they were big on peace, and they wanted to rid the people of prejudice, and they also accepted many different points of view. So it made me go to the internet and look you guys up. And here you are, pretty much the same, which was subtly affecting me over the years and changing the way I felt. So this summary of my journey in religion came from, a lot of being Mennonite for 28 years, and I'm still Mennonite, just like I think if you're Jewish, you still have certain Jewish characteristics that they don't leave you. And I couldn't play the Mennonite game where, we say, oh, do you know Brad Yoder? And then, yes, oh, yeah. But then these other things, like my first college job, I got hired at an ultra-conservative Baptist college, probably because they thought I was very conservative. I was Mennonite. And the faculty there were of Bob Jones or Liberty ilk. And it was really, I had to keep really quiet. I'm glad to see y'all understand that. It was, but then when I went to the Catholic college, we all went to a United Church of Christ, which was very liberal for what I was used to, and we had a female pastor. And it's like, oh my gosh. So things started to evolve to the point where I created this piece, and I'm not sure if I want to call it a truth welder or a truth wielder, but anyway, it's like a welder in front of all these scriptures that I printed out and I put in intersection to the point where it became confusing. Or was it confusing? It was a beautiful mess, a jumbled mess, I'm not sure. But this piece was kind of like the crystallization of, boy, I'm hearing a lot of different things and I'm still confused. So once I got to that base level, I came up with these two things. And I say I came up with these base theories, but I'm pretty sure if I Googled them, somebody else said it first. But I'm going to take credit for it this morning anyway. And one is that religion is a man-made construct to control the young and comfort the old. And this piece I'm showing is the American Tea Party. You might remember around 2010, the Tea Party in America started, and it was a lot of, in the name of God, they were discriminating against people of color, same-sex marriage, and women, and they're under this shaky table that I have created. And there's holes in their theory, so I shot little holes in the cups in the teapot. And Anita then covered the whole shaky table with scriptures from the Bible. And so that piece it didn't go over that well in the Mennonite community. And the second thing that I do realize now, that I think I heard this on NPR, but the pursuit of God is lost in religion. And that can be expressed by the fact that at least one time I read that there were like 2,200 different denominations within the Christian church alone. And in the Mennonite church, we used to say, oh, there's Heinz 57. There's at least 57 different varieties. And some of them were, when I was living near Lancaster County in Pennsylvania, the black bumper Mennonites. It's like, you can drive a car, but you got to be separate from the world. So let's paint the bumpers and anything chrome black. You're good to go then. So this Tea Party ushered in an era of, it wasn't separation of church and state. And that's what we grew up on, separation of church and state. But now they were certain evangelical groups that were preaching who you should vote for from the pulpit. So I said, all right, I got my own pulpit, and it's art. And so here I took 10 different things that Trump had said, and then things that Jesus would say in rebuttal. Like, instead of building a wall, love your neighbor. And all around this piece, this great, great peace extinguisher. And I was fortunate enough to, this piece got in a show in Germany, and they loved it. So, and another thing, I kind of view our current situation, political situation, as kind of a cult. And it struck me that Christianity was considered a cult for like 350 years before Constantine said, okay, I think we can call it a religion now. And so you get this kind of an inside feeling of how cults get started, and it's scary. So this is called the cult figure, and you might notice that in that piece, I use a lot of hooks. And I consider the hook as a symbol of kind of like salesmanship, where the fisherman throws out the line and tells, you have this bait dangling there, and then you grab it. And after that, I'm not quite sure what happens. But this then maybe was the final straw. This is casting stones. I noticed that a lot of times churches are the first to discriminate and cast stones at people. And this was in regard to our church in Bethany with their struggle of, should we become open and affirming? And I'm sympathetic to churches that are going through this, because you're going to lose half your congregation one way or the other. And luckily, Bethany went the right way. They became open and affirming, but they lost a lot of people that would normally come. And that goes back to this, so many hundreds of thousands of different denominations. But this, in that case, I do have to say, I snuck into Bethany Church and under the cover of darkness with all my crates of chalices and this jester, and do this in remembrance of me. And then I took all these photos. They don't know, Stephanie, don't tell them. But I had fallen for it, and the whole thing, hook, line, and sinker. That's the way. And I realized that there was a lot of pressure to me. Like, all right, now I've come to this realization that there's probably not the way I was taught. And I held on to that for a long time, and I said to myself, I'm not sure I can tell my mom for sure. I can't tell my children. Okay, I finally worked up the courage to talk to Anita, and I said, honey, I've had a sustained investigation, and here's what I've come up with. And she said, well, I've been skeptical for quite a while, and I just wondered when you might come around. But everybody has their own faith journey, and that's so true. And so the pressure was off to some degree, although I do feel like I had to travel 250 miles away from Virginia to come and tell you this story. And my goal is not for sure to interfere with anybody's faith journey, just as Anita knew I had to come to my own conclusions. And so that's why you keep quiet for so long. It's like, I don't, probably my children, well, they know everything now. And who knows, I might burn in hell, except I don't believe in hell anymore, so. But this was a piece I made. And I do want to then reiterate the things about the Mennonites. They have this organization called Mennonite Disaster Service, and they go out and help people who are in need with hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, and they are there helping. And because of their hands-on skills, they're very effective at it. And this sense of community is why I chose that little piece of literature that Stephanie read, because I think that's the most important thing about church, is the sense of community. And I remember walking by these Mennonite ladies making quilts, living simply by putting patches together, and it's something that sticks with me and something that you can't get away from. And to the point where now I'm exploiting them, and I am making ceramic quilts. And it's been interesting. I don't feel quite like one of those older ladies in the sewing circle room. So you might ask, well, what's next? Well, I've been thinking about going back to painting again, and instead of Our Father who art in heaven, what if all those disciples were making art in heaven? You could see them painting and drawing right at the table. Are you in? I love that. I just need to do it. Well, I'll leave you with this. Van Gogh said, I put my heart and soul in my artwork and I lost my mind. And I had to think, well, I put my heart and soul into artwork and I lost my God. So I'm not sure where that will take me, but I'm still on the sustained investigation, and thank you for allowing me to share.
And please rise and body your spirit and join me in singing hymn 295, Sing Out Praises for the Journey.
Thank you.
Please join me in reading the words printed in your order of service as we extinguish the chalice flame. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. For our benediction, the words of Bill Hamilton Holloway. If I were to wish you peace, it would not be for long. It would be peace to rest, to reflect, to make ready for the coming day. That the full force of your creativity and love might be released and shared. I do wish you peace.
We